Good morning, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm coming to you raw, real and live at the moment for this week's Monday's musings. Now, when I say live, I don't mean time-wise, because what I'm actually doing is recording this on Saturday, because I'll get into it, but next week I have an exam and it feels like that's really poignant. Next week we all have this exam coming. I can really feel that building on the individual and on the collective to really look at whether or not we're reacting in different ways than what we have been and how aligned and authentic we are with ourselves. What I mean is live. I'm coming to you live, alive, raw, real, feeling it all, sensing it all, judging it all, trying to figure it all out, alive, because we are. We're all here going through our own process, and it seems, especially within the more spiritual community, that there's this view of being untouched, untainted, pure, if you will. And this week it feels really important to recognize light and artificial light. Now, that's not to say that that isn't light, but to say that there's more being asked of us this week, that there's more realism being asked of us this week that can actually only come from the human experience, not from detaching from it, but being in it, embodied in it, present in it. When we say about connecting to our higher self, there is this theory, there's a view, this belief that our higher self is out there, right? And yes, to an extent, it is about taking our energy up from what is occurring. But that doesn't mean to detach or have apathy from what is occurring or to be totally separate from it. Okay, this week it really feels like key to remember that our higher self can also be our physical self, to recognize that our physical human self is our feminine. Okay, because what we're doing when we're totally separating from that and then trying to feel the wisdom and the medicine of the divine feminine, it's not going to be possible. Okay, there isn't that sacred union there this week, which is why I'm coming to you now, raw, real, totally unprepared, totally I was going to have a bath first. I was going to try and calm my energy, really ground, really try and bring this vibration down. But that feels like key, to let whatever is coming through come through, to know that you can hold space in every moment, regardless of whether your hair is perfect, regardless of whether you brush your teeth or you have this image that you've been trying to uphold. And it is about looking at that this week. I've just gone into the bathroom to actually brush my hair, because there is a difference between being real and just not caring, which is going to be one big emphasis this week. And as I did so, my bathroom looks out into my back garden and my back gate is open. And it really came through. The gate is open, and it is that Syrian portal. Okay, it is, yes, obviously the 7/7, but it starts from the 3rd of July, which is the same time as the full moon, the thunder moon. And my goodness, there is some whopping energy coming in, even to the point, but yes, even to the point, because I've done a lot of work. Okay, so really recognizing this week that none of us are going to be left unscathed, that none of us are going to not have to look at certain things this week, that there are going to be epiphany moments this week. I've written more about it in the blog, which you can find on my website and is already up. There are going to be epiphany moments that really come up for us all this week, but they are not external, they are internal moments where we are really being guided to have a good hard look at ourselves, to see where we are misaligned. And there is no not in alignment or needing adjusting, no, misaligned in regards to the narrative that we support, the world we are trying to bring into being, and how we actually embody that. But it's even deeper than that. It's deeper than how we walk our talk or whatever. This is more on an energetic vibrational level. So for argument's sake, I truly believe in an abundant world. I truly believe that our needs are met, and every time a yearning comes up for me or a desire, I have this sacred rage around greed, my own included, that comes up. So I'm totally out of alignment. I'm totally in conflict with where I'm at. And this week it really is important to look at the stories we are manipulating, adapting and choosing to bring forward for our own gains. Okay, and to really, really look at where we're not in alignment with that. And the only way to do that is to feel. There is no disassociation from our emotions if we are to move forward. We do have a lot going on with the element of water, and obviously we have the water outside of us, but it's really, really important to look at our emotions. Really, really important to recognize that it makes up 3/4 of who we are. So when we get a full moon, we're going to be affected. We're going to have ebbs and flows and tides, and we're going to feel really in the moment and then not in the moment. And what's really important this week is to embrace where we're at and to take responsibility of being able to nurture what is going on. And we cannot do that if we do not feel. And it isn't always pleasant. Today has nearly had me on my knees, and there was a moment where I was praying and asking for help. And I was asking for help to convert the energy, to transmute the energy, to heal the energy, to forgive the energy, to understand the energy. And really being aware that we can get so caught up in that this week. All that is needed is to love the energy. I say all. I recognize, I appreciate on a deep core level that can be difficult based on what love is to us, based on how willing we are to receive the love that is required to do that, the level of love that is required to do that. So this morning on my walk, yes, it started with my own belief that it was about greed. And then it evolved. I went through a process while I was walking. It evolved to being about the abuse of power. And then that evolved to actually really feeling what was going on for me. And that evolved then into trying to understand and label and make a story of it all, ultimately, so that I could look at where I was abusing my own power, my own ability to just feel. To just feel, to really take it back to basics. And it isn't always easy when you're in fight or flight mode. It isn't always easy when you doubt your ability to feel the energy that's coming through. Make no mistakes, it is intense this week. It is intense this week, and it does almost feel, I'm doing this at the weekend and it feels applicable to do it at the weekend, because those that need to see this video will. Those that are already going through this will get this when they need it. There is a test coming. The reason I'm doing this early this week is because I actually have a physical test for college next week, and I'm going to put time aside for that. But there is a real energetic test coming to see not how good or bad we are, but what lessons we now need to take forward. And that is going to be based on how we react with what we already know. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready. I am so ready energetically in my chest. And I'm getting a lot of palpitations the last few days, a lot of just doing it, just do it. Really going with that energy this week of just turning up and acting in that moment. And being okay with the outcome. Now, if we can feel into our emotions and we can realize what are ours, we are less likely to re-enact, and we are less likely to be triggered. We are more likely to recognize something is stirring within us, to really go through the process, the medicine wheel of it all, and go through it quicker this week if we can hold space for that, if we can trust in our ability to hold space for that, if we can recognize that we are ready for the test. We are ready, and whatever happens was always going to happen. I really feel that in my chest, which is important to keep our heart space open. The other thing that came up today, I need to just quickly drink from my cup, right? Really receiving our own medicine. We have had a lot of training in what we offer others. We have had a lot of training in what we have discovered about our own abilities, and now it's more about receiving that, taking the time to love ourselves on all levels and receive what we give others. But this morning I woke up in extreme pain, completely unprepared, and it would be nice to say we're all unprepared for pain, but the truth of the matter is, for many years I have been at a level of consistent pain. So I've been at a level where I've been quite complacent as to what extra pain can feel like, because I've always had that. Okay, so this morning, thanks to restorative yoga yesterday, amazing, do try it out. I wasn't really in a great deal of pain, which is the first time in forever. And that left me unguarded, and because I was unguarded, it really shook me when this pain came in today, really shook me. And I had to bring forth all of my tools, all of my ability to cope. And the truth of it is, I didn't do that great. I tried to breathe through it, wasn't working. I tried to pace it out, wasn't working. I tried to connect to, a higher healing, wasn't working, because it had caught me off guard. And what did work was just to go into it and just to release, just to have a good old cry because it hurt. I mean, how often do we allow ourselves to do that when something hurts? Just to have a good old cry, just to trust our body's ability to let go without having to disassociate from it or understand it or link it back to a past life. And, I'm not downplaying these things. It's the basis of my work. It's not that there's not truth in it, but really respecting the power that can come from feeling what's going on and trusting our body's ability to let it go in a way that is so easy, that has been gifted to us from birth. When we take that first cry, when we're first born, it is that actually evolves our heart. It is that actually takes our heart from 2 chambers to 4. It is that actually opens the gate. Okay, so it may feel like a bit of a floodgate. It may feel like the moment we start, we may not stop. And I can really relate to that with this sacred rage that I feel sometimes. I wonder, if I start to scream, will I ever stop? But it's trusting, okay? It's trusting, because what's happening is the heart is being evolved. Now, even though I felt the pain in my womb space this morning, what I really sensed was it only eased when I bared down, when I grounded. And as I did so, not only did my root chakra open, but my heart chakra opened as well. The creative endeavors that are being asked of us this week are being asked to be born from our connection from the earth and our ability to love unconditionally and open that space, really open that space to allow it to just come through us and be gifted in everything that we give and everything that we receive. And that is going to be the ultimate test, if you will, so we can truly see where we are. And it's not about brownie points, it's not about good or bad, it's about compassion. What I really see is many people trying to manifest on like a level up here, not in higher good or bad, but just a higher vibration and more evolved vibration when they are here. And all that's doing is constantly putting them down, constantly putting their efforts down. Okay, now it's one thing to see our potential. It's another thing to then bring it back to where we are and adapt it, to make it smart, to make it, realistic, achievable, manageable, to make it sensible, and, to really then from that place have a target. And that's what we're being gifted this week. You wouldn't ask somebody off the treadmill that has only just started at the gym to suddenly run a London marathon. And it is really this week about recognizing where we are, and that can come as a shocker. Okay, so but it's really good. It's really good to see how aligned you are. It's really good to take stock with where you're at this week. So yesterday's restorative yoga, I do loads of practice. I do loads of practice on my healing and, connecting to the earth and holding space for others. And I did restorative yoga yesterday. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much fight or flight I'd found myself in. Yes, I could say it was the traffic on the way. Yes, I could say it was the closure of the roads. Yes, I could say it was timing. No, in that moment, I was in fight or flight and I didn't realise. And that can be really quite, I'm going to say dangerous. That can be really quite dangerous when we look at our actions. Okay, so this week, really feeling in to where you are before you react. Let that be the most spontaneous thing you do. Feel where you're at. Okay. Is there anything else? Yes, okay. It may be a bit of a bitter pill to swallow this week. It may be medicine that we don't particularly like this week, and it may already have been building up. So, this morning when I finally finished the process, and I always advocate that you bring it back to the self, bring it back to the self, bring it back to your ability to hold your responses, to react with your responses. If you want empowerment, it's inner empowerment. And it can be hard to know that we are the person to sort this. Now, that's not to say that we haven't got support. That's not to say that there aren't people, higher guides, animals, plants, whatever out there that can help support us. But at the end of the day, say it's about our inner core this week, and always bringing it back to the self, which is what I did this morning. It started with my, initial thoughts on greed. Okay, it then went, as I'm doing my walk, to this feeling of an abuse of power. It then went round to my own healing and really looking at where I was doing that with myself by rationalising what I was feeling and my own fear and my ability to hold space for that. When I finally allowed myself to do that, going into the West, really bringing it home to the South, I was letting myself down. There was a lot of things that I'd promised myself I would do that I hadn't found the time. There was a lot of things that I wanted to achieve that I hadn't really, I'd put in some steps. But on the one hand, I was getting frustrated because these things hadn't come in. And on the other hand, when I took a good hard look at what was going on, I wasn't putting in the steps that I knew I needed to do in order to achieve that. So this week, with compassion and knowing that it will bring compassion also, taking a good hard look at where you're at, the narrative you believe in, and how well you're applying your own story, your own life story to that. Okay? Without the judgment, or allowing the judgment to help with the healing, to call you out, whatever, recognizing the judgment behind it and for what it's doing for you. So recognizing the trigger and what's actually being called out for you as a result. Bringing it full circle this week is going to be key. To recognize what it is you are creating, to own up and take responsibility for the things that you may not be creating even though you want them, and then to really look at the reasoning behind that, the worth behind that. So with that in mind, 16 minutes and 40, all the fours, I'm going to really embrace some more not aggressive, direct energy with the reading this week, and we're going to look at the runic tarot, and I like these because they are very to the point. And then we're going to look at the elemental oracle. So we're going to really look at what's going on emotionally and how to best navigate that, and any guidance from the elementals within. So we talk about fae, we talk about the water elements, we talk about dragons, we talk about unicorns and all that kind of energy. But obviously we have energy within us. We have elementals within us, potentials within us. And what I can really see is actually Mother Mary and how she used to work with the elementals. And this week, if we're really struggling to really call upon the higher version of the mother archetype for that compassion, for that necessary nurture here. It's not about failing or passing a test. It's not even about evolution. It's about opening your heart to where you are so that you can have compassion for those times when you may not be achieving what you would like, and really then be able to look at the steps that you have put in place. Be grateful for the ones that you have, for the ones that you haven't, and focus on them. Okay, so with that in mind, got the Knight of Pentacles at the bottom of the pack. I love these. I love these cards. They are by Jack Seraphoff and Alan Dempster. Beautiful, beautiful cards. Okay. And that's really important this week, to recognize the beauty in getting to the point, in recognizing the beauty in being direct and streamlined. And it doesn't mean cutting off emotions, that means feeling them without all the different versions and all the different stories, and just feeling them. You know, just really going back to basics this week feels like key. There's a couple of things I really want to do in my own routine on a monthly basis, but I know underpinning it all, what's being asked of me, is to really look at my diet and how I best nurture this vessel that I'm expecting so much from. So this week it will be a current theme that keeps coming up for you. What has come up over the last few months that you're being asked to take on board as the parent of your own journey? So as we go into the full moon, we're looking at the sun in Cancer and the moon in Capricorn. So we are looking at the celestial parents. Okay, so really, how are you parenting your own journey, your own growth this week? And how aligned is it to, you know, the greater parents, the sun and the earth? How aligned is it to that, and what it is you want to bring in for Pachamama and the stories that you're trying to develop? Okay, so we do have the Ten of Wands here, and we do have, you know, it just getting all a little bit too much. Now, necessary energy, I just want to take that card, the Queen of Wands underneath. necessary energy here, because it's actually that's going to bring the thunderbolt moments. It's that's going to help us really utilize the power that is building within us, the frustration, the disappointment, the disillusion that is building up within us. However, there's no good pointing it out to everybody else. There's no good, it's that's almost making it a bit too much. The energy that we have taken, which is why we have the Queen of Wands underneath, the energy that we have taken to say it's this, this and this, it's, you know, it's really diluted the power, okay, and it's just being reflected back to us, because quite rightfully so, it's about looking at ourselves within the equation also. If we want to be part of the team, it is acknowledging that we are part of the team, and what we feel is valid, needs to be felt, needs to be worked with, not against. Okay, so we're just going to go with that. We're going to keep the Queen of Wands at the bottom of the pack. It's really strange. I'm actually taking the view. Okay, I literally took the view then of the Devil card, because I started to think, you know, do I do this for Monday? And what I'm going to do is do it for now, okay, for now onwards. So I'm going to include Saturday and Sunday in the reading, because there are people that are going to be watching this on the Saturday and Sunday. And if I'm going to talk about where we're at, I need to be where we're at. And again, it's that authentic energy coming through with the Devil energy today on the Saturday, Sunday, wow, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Overall, we have a humdinger week of major arcanas, and it is about acknowledging that this week. It is about acknowledging that some of this is out of our hands, some of this we are being asked to hold space for, and obviously the more we make the story about us, the less likely we are to be able to do that. I'm really acknowledging that this week. It isn't until midweek that it becomes I want to say personal, and it does become personal. And you know, I know we live in a world where it's not about taking things personally, but actually we're also human, and it's not that other people's stuff is always about us, but our stuff is about us. And it's quite important midweek that we start to really look at that, because we have the Six of Wands, and we do have that energy of, you know, knowing that victory comes from inner empowerment, and really taking responsibility and standing up for that, making ourselves our center stage, you know, without that pointing at other people. Okay, so let's bring it back to the Saturday. Well, overall, the energy we have is temperance, and that feels quite important to recognise that it is about, the only way to get through this week is to focus on the physical goals, to focus on the chop wood, carry water, to focus on the humanness of experiencing whatever is going on here, because that's the only way that we're actually going to find any beauty. If we try and rationalise the energy, you know, look at those thundery skies in the background. If we try and rationalize the Heyoka force that is coming through with this thunder moon, we're going to go batshit crazy. Okay, so this week it is really about finding the beauty, and the way that we do that is to experience. The way that we do that is to go through the process of feeling. Okay, and that can be really difficult when you're almost right at the cusp of it all, when you're almost right at that point of transition. That can be so difficult, because we either want it over or we don't want to be there at all. Breathe, walk, move, do whatever it is you need to do to nurture yourself. Have a bath, have something nice to eat, be the parent of the changes that are occurring, be the temperance, be the witness, be the midwife. You know, what do you need to mop your own brow, to bring in these shifts, these changes? My birthday's coming up at the end of the month, and what I always end up doing before my birthday, a couple of days beforehand, is retreating. And that means literally going up into my room, taking a load of books, taking all the smoothies and things that I want to have for a couple of days, and just being with what is occurring. You owe this to yourself. We owe this to ourselves. If we want to bring forth that change, it's time for revision or a revision of who we are. Okay, so really on the Saturday, embodying that silence, taking a moment to know there are things that we are not going to know in every moment. We couldn't cope with that amount of light, There are certain times when we need the darkness, where we need to go within, you know. Shadow work isn't necessarily about the nasty bits that we're judging or whatever. It's about everything that has actually been hidden in the shadows. Okay, so it doesn't mean that it's all dark. It could very well be light in there as well. But going within is going to find the answers, because there is no other way of finding them. Okay, you get them from other people, they're just going to be a reflection of where they're at. No matter how much we think we are connected beyond the ego, beyond this, beyond that, we still have our own narrative, we still have our own vision, we still have our own lessons and ways of learning. So for your answers, only you can find them. It's about finding an energy that will support you to do that, not do it for you on the Saturday. This video included, right? On the Sunday, we have the High Priestess. Okay, so we've discovered that the answers can only come from within, and we've come face to face with the wisdom that we're actually searching for. And that is the light. That is the light within the darkness there. Is that I can't even see what that is behind her. I don't know if that's a buffalo. Yes, I do believe that's a white buffalo behind her, or a buffalo behind her. Now for me, it's coming across as the white buffalo, and that is my own connection to white buffalo calf woman, the Christ consciousness, the white brotherhood. For you, it may very well be different, and it is about finding what's hidden behind that veil, what's hidden behind the very thing that you've been avoiding. What is the light behind it all? So today I really rediscovered my strength in being able to hold space and being able to feel this energy, you know. And really, for me personally, I connected to the yearning of love underneath it all and what was actually being asked of me. By the Sunday, there will be it's not even a spark. It may feel like an epiphany, but it isn't. It's something that's been, you know, glowing throughout our whole life. It's our flame. Yes, it's our threefold flame. It's our soul. It's our source of inspiration. It's the creativity of who we are that will come to light on the Sunday. It's that's been behind the curtains. And now I'm feeling quite humbled, and remembering that I said it was white buffalo calf woman and the Christ consciousness behind the veil. Now I'm feeling quite humbled, and knowing that I'm feeling a little bit of resistance to that is going to be key as well. How willing are you to accept who you are? And I don't mean the shadows. I think we've got really quite good at that. I think we've got really quite we see the shadow in a lot more positive perspective now, warts and all, and it's, you know, we're very accepting of that now. I mean the light. How willing are we to accept the light of who we are on the Sunday? Because there's great wisdom there. Okay, on the Monday we have our 4th major arcana, if we count the overall energy, but it's the 3rd of the week, and it's the Hermit. And there is a real standstill there. And it's a standstill in our vision. Okay, so it's, yes, obviously being grounded. Yes, obviously going within. Yes, obviously connecting to ancestral healing and things like that. But what's really drawing my attention here is the rune on the forehead over the third eye, the Isa, the standstill, the standing point, the pause. Okay, before we bring anything in. Now, this is on the Monday, and the full moon is actually on the Monday evening. All right, so knowing that in the moments where it feels like we're not doing anything, we're actually achieving the greatest wisdom in regards to our own light. So yesterday with the restorative yoga, for those that have done restorative yoga, you'll know what I'm saying, but there was hardly any movement. Excuse me, hardly any movement at all. But the energy and the poses, because there was less, because it was about doing less and not about doing more, the deep-seated shifts were more apparent. So there was hardly any physical movement, but energetically massive, massive movement. Now, when we go into the full moon in Capricorn, the more physically embodied we are, it doesn't mean that we're doing lots. It doesn't mean that we're thinking lots or trying to manifest lots. We're full, we're ripe, we're ready to deliver. And, you know, that can be the most gentlest of movements that is needed, the most simple of flows that is required, depending on where we're at in our own connection. Obviously, if we're already quite within our own empowerment, that can feel quite solid. That can feel quite still and patient, and allowing the wisdom to come through, like a channeling type energy. On the Monday, I'm thinking about my exam, which is great. That'd be really great. Just everything I know just coming in and being written, that would be wonderful. Depending on where we are. Okay, so if we're not quite in that energy, if we're not quite grounded in who we are, yes, it may be quite a sudden epiphany type energy that comes in. Looking at what you fill the pauses with. I've noticed as I was talking then, I was filling the pauses with If you're uncertain, go within, pause, allow this to open. The portal, the gateway, is not the only thing that will be opening by the 3rd. This as well, this and our womb space. Okay. In the Moon Aiki rites, we call that to be of wisdom, to be of love, and to be of service. And it is that ultimately that is coming into alignment. For me, at least, we will all be different, and that will look different for everybody. And it's important to recognise that as we go into the Tuesday, because the Tuesday we have the Chariot. This card in particular, the cats that are being used are domesticated cats. And that's kind of caused a bit of a trigger for me, actually. I can be totally honest. It's like, well, they're just domesticated cats. They're controlled, they're domesticated, they're not wild, they've got collars on. The steps on the Tuesday may feel quite mundane. They may feel quite chop wood, carry water, clean the house, do the shopping, that kind of thing. However, it is the very energy behind it that is going to drive us forward. That's still wild. That's still very feminine. That's still very sensual, very guarded. Really look at how guarded we are on the Tuesday in regards to the actions that we're putting in place, because it's that domesticates us. We have the Canoe rune there, which for me always reminds me of the moon card, and it always reminds me of the shadow. So on the Tuesday, really looking at where we may need to put our guard down in regards to how domesticated we feel. And I feel that in my chest, how wild we feel. On the Wednesday, this is where we start to take things personally. This is where we're being encouraged to take things personally, because unless we can apply it to who we are, unless we can apply it to our story, our narrative, to really look at what's going on for us, there is no victory there. Unless we can have that inner empowerment, it's going to be about everybody else. And that can be a real scapegoat Wednesday. But also I'm very aware that that's part of my narrative. So being acutely aware of what is going on the Wednesday, being acutely aware of the reactions around you and within you as a result of this, being acutely aware of the victory you're trying to achieve and how aligned you actually are to that. Emphasis is on us Wednesday, most definitely. And there is an entrance behind that. There is a gateway behind that. There is a portal behind that. There is a way forward behind that. There is so much support to walk through to this next stage. So much support here. No one can do it for us, right? On the Thursday, we have the Six of Pentacles, and there's tension here, and I can really feel that starting to build in the chest. I can really feel the distractions and the outside noises having an impact on what we give and what we receive, and almost a battle, a distraction of boundaries here. So one of the things I noticed this morning was a lot of the story that was coming up in regards to my judgment on what I was feeling and what was going on were old feelings, old narratives. It's not to say they weren't relevant, but they were old. And as I'm saying it, I can feel that energy trying to come out of the heart, that old energy trying to come out of the heart. On the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, yes, we may feel as if we need to look at boundaries, and it's an old an old energy that has to come to the surface to really examine where we're giving from and where we're receiving from. It's not as in-depth or heavy or lengthy as we may think it is. Okay, so it is again that test moment. It is again that waiting for the results. Just wait for the results. It feels like by the Thursday the test is over. Wait for the results. You know, nothing else can be done. It's done waiting for the results. Okay, waiting for the proof almost to come in. And pausing. On the Friday, we have the Two of Pentacles. We have that balance. One of the things I noticed with restorative yoga yesterday was the teacher was talking about the rest and digestion phase, the not being in the fight or flight. And it does really, looking at this, it does really feel collectively as if in order to have victory, we have to fight for our place. We have to fight to be in the spotlight. We have to fight to ensure that we're getting what we need. And not really. It's coming from a real fight or flight perspective. And I can take that on board this morning. It was a classic example. It was a classic example of that. So on the Friday, really using that opportunity to rest, to take stock, to celebrate where you're at, to find that balance of what you have achieved and what you want to achieve, of your light, of your dark, of where you may need to grow up a little bit, where you've excelled, really balancing that out and looking at the energy that you are consuming and how in alignment that is, how balanced that is, because it doesn't matter if it's Atlantean healing, Reiki, readings, shamanic work. All of it is about coming back into harmony with who you are. All of it is about coming back into harmony within the body, within the mind and within the soul. And when we can do that, true healing occurs. And by Friday, that is a great potential. That is a great potential for that to happen if we allow space for that. I'm not saying this week is going to be easy. There is a lot of support from the universe and it can feel quite full on, especially if we feel as if things are being done to us rather than for us. And that's the biggest balance that needs to be looked at. Are we coming at things from a victim mentality because it's all out of our control, it's all external, it's all out there, or are we going to bring it in and really look at what's going on for us to make sure that we've passed, that we've done all the lessons that we need to do, that we are actually ready to move forward? One of the things I noticed this morning was all these excuses I'd put in the way, all these reasonings I'd put in the way to not actually take things to the next level, and that's what was being asked of me. The energy coming in was more intense than where I saw myself at or able to hold, and the reason for that was purely because I was using all these distractions for my energy rather than being grounded and centered. It's that's coming to a close as we go into the weekend, and it almost feels like a full loop. It's not a loop, it's an infinity circle, infinity shape. So it will depend on where you are. It could be ongoing through the week. It could be that you're feeling this now on the Saturday or the following Saturday or wherever you may be. I'm just looking at a picture above me and it's got some flowers and some tree stumps painted onto it, and I'm thinking back to a vision that I had a few days ago in regards to a tree stump, but also Ayers Rock and the real strong solar plexus energy there. Really looking at what you're prepared to share, really looking at where you are sharing it from, and making that decision, committing and being truthful with yourself. Honouring your own word on the Saturday is going to bring those endings that are necessary. And yes, we are going to get circumstances that say, yeah, but can you do this? Yeah, but can you do that? And we are going to find them ourselves as well. Well, I didn't get to do X, Y, and Z because I didn't have the money, or I didn't have the time, or I didn't have the support. And that's not that these aren't valid. Take it up a notch. Think of the death archetype. There's no time for all of that. change, that's where we're going, that's where we're headed towards. I will find the time, I will find the money, but I will keep taking those steps forward. Okay, there are going to be things that pull on our heartstrings by the next Sunday. However, it can either pull on our heartstrings tight or it can open us up, and the choice is ours, because on the Sunday we have the Ace of Cups here. We do have that emotional, it's not a release, it's an emotional sustainability, it's an emotional sustenance. I said last week I felt like I really needed a good cry, and I went through this whole process of triggers before I allowed myself to have those moments. It doesn't have to be that way, okay? By allowing ourselves to feel, we are sustaining the experience of humanity. We are sustaining the process of being physically embodied, okay? It's not a out there inconvenience. It's part of the very essence that we are, and by the weekend that's going to become very apparent where we're aligned to that and where we're not, okay, where we're recognizing our own strength in that, our inner core, and where we're not. So let's break it down, because we're 40 minutes 40 okay, we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 major arcanas this week. Being aware obviously is over a longer time period. The changes are over a longer time period. This reading is over a longer time period. So you may have already done a lot of that by the time you watch this. You may not. That feels like key. There are going to be a lot of universal changes occurring. Some will be relevant, some will not. What is the emphasis is where are you? What is applicable? We have 6. We have harmony. We have balance. We have choices to be made based on that foundation, based on that understanding. We have temperance, the devil, the high priestess, the hermit, the chariot, and death. Ultimately, it is in the physical actions that we take, including the ones that may bring forth the more shadow side of us that we may not want to see, that will bring the wisdom that only comes from going within. This will help us to move forward and bring forth the shifts and the changes that were always going to happen. The universe is really going to reflect this back to us this week. It's going to reflect back where we've been holding ourselves back. It's going to reflect back the reasons behind that. It's going to reflect back any medicine we may need. It's going to reflect back the light that we are and the light that we show to the world. It's going to reflect back where we may have domesticated our ability to change, to steer our own direction. It's going to reflect back empowerment. It's going to reflect back true power and what that actually means, free will to us all. And yeah, it is about being very open to that. It is about looking at where we may be defensive to that, where we are in harmony or not with that, and where balance may be required. Because underneath it all, and it's that I'm going to leave you with, we have the Queen of Wands. I'm trying to think of something I was going to, a phrase I was going to say, and it's completely gone from my mind. Completely gone from my mind. I'm looking at the Queen of Wands, and I have a, thank you. I have a real block there. I have a real block, and I'm trying to think, what would she say? I'm trying to think what is her message here, and I'm trying to think, and straight underneath is the 10 of Wands. It doesn't matter. Any understanding with this energy is not going to be relevant this week, and it doesn't matter who you seek out, it doesn't matter how many avenues you look at. What is important is our ability to feel the connection to the power that is occurring, because it's that helps us to embody the Queen of Wands. It's that helps us to embody her energy, the feminine, our own version of this, our own soul. And it's that where we have the block. It's that where we have the block, the ability to see who we are and what we're truly capable of, because underneath we have the Page of Cups and the Ace of Pentacles. Okay, it's time that we see we are the prayers that we've been asking for. It's time that we see the magic within us for the new beginnings, the new physical beginnings that can be born from this, when we embody humanity, not when we distract ourselves from it. And underneath, we have the 9 of Wands, so it gets a bit easier, but it might not be over by the end of this week, because it's one lifelong lesson, right? We have the Hierophant underneath it all. It is about how we see ourselves as the teacher and as the student of this thing called life. Take care. Have a wonderful week at whatever point you are watching this, wherever you may be in your life. And I'll see you soon. Take care.